there, Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk's Bounty video, and welcome to episode 85 of Ask Boss Bounty, the weekly series where I answer your questions from the comment section below. So if you do have a question for next week's episode and you want to be featured, leave the question in the comment section below and hopefully I'll get round to answering your question. Loads of great questions again this week, but before we do get onto those, I just want to make you aware of my most recent video, which was my grading video. I waited 16 or 17 weeks for my items to come back, such as the Canadian Yoda that I do have here, to make that video, and then for YouTube to not go and really sort of promote it to my subscribers. So please watch that video after this one, give it a chance. I know grading isn't for everybody, but I did want to send some items off to show you my experience of grading and to see what scores the sort of best items from my collection got when they got graded. But as I say, that video, sometimes when you do a YouTube video and it's not on the same sort of subject that you usually do it, YouTube doesn't push it out to your subscribers. So I'm making you all aware that that video does exist. And yeah, if you want to watch it after this one, that would be greatly appreciated. And of course, as usual, if you do happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to drop a like down below. Really does help the video and the channel. And with all that being said, let's get straight on to the first question. Joe Christopher says, great Sunday vid, Tim. Hope you're well. Question for next week. With Bossk heavily rumoured for the Book of Boba Fett series, what are you expecting from him in the series? Realistically, as he was only a background character in Empire, what do you want to see Bossk doing? Well, to be honest, I think they'll make quite good use of him. At the end of the day, him and Boba Fett were quite close in the Clone Wars series, and that is canon. So I really do think they'll probably sort of delve into that a little bit more. I think it'll be quite nice to see that reunion, but to be honest, whatever happens, if Bossk is on screen in live action, it'll be super cool. But part of me doesn't want them to overdo it with him. I think just sprinkle him in here and there. I don't really want him to become like a whole main character or anything like that. I quite like that he's just in the background or just in like a few scenes or whatever. Just Capster says, hey Bossk, would love a speeder bike for the upcoming IG-11. Here's a question. Would you think we can get a repack of IG-11 with a child carrying like the Walmart exclusive Mandalorian? It's an easy sale as I need a small cloth on the figure that can hold the child and repack the rest. Yeah, that's quite possible, I guess. If I'm honest, I think maybe what might happen is what they did with the Black series, that if we were to get a speeder bike, they might give you like the carrying case and the child included as like a pack-in with the speeder bike rather than it being a pack-in with a figure. That's just my personal opinion on the matter, but who knows what they're going to do. But yeah, at the end of the day, we've just got to get the speeder bike really. And I'm not too sure really how people would feel about a repacked figure with just the one extra piece of cloth or whatever, and that being a build-up pack. I'm not too sure how well that would go down. Bruce Wayne says, always a good watch, Bossk. Question for next week. I feel that Hasbro is starting to put out solid products consistently at this point. What can we do as collectors and fans to get our fan requested figures as well as grow our community? Well, the first thing you can do is like share my videos and share other people's videos that talk about the vintage collection. Share people's Instagram posts, like, comment. Get just the general conversation going. I know the guys over at SWTVC on Instagram have a fairly big following now, and it's all that sort of thing. They do like polls and brackets and stuff like that about who the fans want in the line, and just participate in that sort of thing and just make as much noise as you possibly can. And of course, myself and other YouTubers will do our bit as well, as much as we can. But I think we're doing a good job at the moment. I think it's undeniable that the vintage collection has improved this year. Hopefully it'll be improving even more next year. And I think it's just impossible for Hasbro not to take notice these days. Brett Swineford says, hey Bossk, I have a question. Is there any way to get replacement hands for clone troopers? A bunch of my childhood figures are either missing or broke. Yeah, so I think you're talking about this kind of mould here where they just had swivel hands. They always fell out. Whenever you tried to sort of put the weapon in their hands, the hands fell out, and so many clones on the secondary market are just missing their hands. And unfortunately, I think the only way that you can get them is maybe if somebody's selling them on the secondary market. But it was often a problem, and that's why now when you've got the hinged wrists, it's much better. Mark Simmons says, hey Bossk, can we get a show on the retro collection? I have a lot of questions. Yep, absolutely. You're more than welcome to ask questions about the retro collection, the Black series. This channel is mainly about the vintage collection, but I do collect the retro collection, and I do have a few of the Black series figures as well, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions on any subject. And it actually doesn't even have to be about Star Wars, it could be anything really. Josh Butt says, thank you Tim for all the great videos. Question for next week, what is going on with the vintage collection Wave 21? We have Wave 22 announced and pre-orders for sale, but Wave 21 we don't even have the complete list of figures announced yet. Stay safe, my friend. Yeah, that is true. And we did discuss this on our live stream a couple of weeks ago now, why that wave wasn't up for pre-order. There is still one figure unannounced. I think we all know who it is. It's heavily rumoured. But I think Chris on the live stream, I think it's Chris from Bantha Skull anyway, said that that particular wave with IG-11, etc., hasn't been put up for pre-order yet because Hasbro are doing like a test run on that particular wave in terms of allowing it to be ordered all at once rather than drip fed over the weeks. So previous waves we've all been able to order this figure, that figure, and then had to wait. And because of that, personally, from my point of view, I've had to pay more on shipping because you order a couple of figures plus shipping, and then the next two figures get announced, pre-orders for those, you order those, and then you have to pay for shipping on top. Whereas if you do a wave all at once, then it's just one shipping, one case of figures, and that's personally how I'd prefer them to do it. So I think they're doing like a test run on this one. As soon as we get that fourth figure announced, I'm pretty sure it'll go up for pre-order as a whole wave, all 4 figures that you can order all at once. And then they'll look at the data on that and see if pre-orders were affected versus doing it the other way. And then obviously going forward, we'll see what happens. Fetmatic says, when do you expect the rest of the Rogue One crew to come to the vintage collection? Well, I was hoping that it was going to be this year. There isn't too many more figures to be revealed this year. I do hope that there's going to be maybe some more exclusives because really we kind of know all the waves of the main line. So the only thing left really to come is the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive and then maybe some more store exclusives. And hopefully, if there are going to be some store exclusives, then there'll be the Rogue One figures that we need, Bodhi Rook, things like that. It will be a shame if we don't get them this year because it's going to be difficult for them to do them next year with all the other things that they've got to do. And as Patrick said, this year is like a Rogue One mini beat. And I know we've had some of the others, but really the time is now this year to complete the lineup of the crew. Daniel van der Linden says, hey Boss, great video as always. If Hasbro is going to make the Vintage Collection Bad Batch figures, who would you want them to make aside from the Bad Batch members? Mine would be Chid and the Elite Squad Trooper. I'm not too sure who Chid is. Maybe that's the child. Maybe that's the kid Omega. But of course, in between last week's episode and this week's episode, we did have a reveal, which I was involved with Hasbro, which was awesome being able to reveal that 4-pack from the Bad Batch. And many of the comments that I got on that video were, great, we're getting some Bad Batch figures, but where are the actual Bad Batch figures? And the only thing I can say in Hasbro's defense, I guess, is that those figures are going to be all new sculpts, right? They're going to be brand new bodies and what have you. These figures that we're getting are pretty much the bodies of these clones. In fact, they're repaints of these clones here, very similar to this one. And that was the only really thing that disappointed me about that set, is that they're using this body and helmet, which it is oversized very, very slightly. And I kind of hope that we would get something a bit more like this, where it's more in scale. These ARC Troopers were fantastic. The helmet is ever so slightly smaller than these ones. And it's just a shame that they've gone down that route because as I said, I did really want a whole new clone. But I think I've just got to accept that at the end of the day, when Hasbro are going to do a clone figure in the vintage collection, that this will be the body and this will be the helmet. And I'm just going to have to live with the fact that it's ever so slightly oversized. But the figures that we are getting in that 4-pack look great. I really can't moan about them. They look fantastic. But yes, we are going to be getting the Bad Batch members at some point. They're not going to be making that set without doing the Bad Batch members. I think they're just going to take a little bit longer to come out. I don't know when that is, but I'm sure they'll come. Apart from that, of course, I would love the Imperial version of Crosshair. I would like the Officer Rampart, like the Black Series are getting. Maybe even a new Tarkin. And of course, the Prime Minister from Kamino. That would be a great figure. That character is featured in many, many episodes already. It's had a fair bit of screen time, so why not put that one out in the vintage collection? That would be pretty awesome. Chris Rook says, hi Bossk, I've asked this once, got a heart, but no reply or answer, so I'm going to try it again. With the upcoming Navarro Cantina playset, do you think that it could double as a Mos Eisley Cantina if someone wanted? Thanks, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this. Now, of course, I haven't seen the playset or know what they're going to do with it. But saying that, I think the Navarro Cantina is pretty different to the Mos Eisley Cantina. I think the Mos Eisley Cantina is a lot more rugged. This one's, I wouldn't want to say more upper class, but it's definitely not so rugged and the layout's different and what have you. But of course, with the playset, why not stick your Mos Eisley Cantina aliens in it? Why not? Sire Lazarus says, hey Tim, really enjoyed the live stream from the weekend. Question for next week. On the live stream, you and the crew made the point about Hasbro doing more pipeline reveals and providing collectors a greater awareness of future products, even if prototypes or digital concepts haven't been mocked up. Do you still think it's important for them to have figures like Bo-Katan that we don't know are coming until they're fully announced with images and pre-order links the next day or so? Yes, I do. I think they've got to strike a balance. I think it's very nice to know pipeline figures. I wish the pipeline figures were further down the line so they could say maybe stuff that's coming out this time next year rather than at Christmas, like we have with Bib Fortuna, who's part of that wave of the Bo-Katan wave. So they've kind of given you some figures from that wave and then said the others are pipeline, which is a bit odd to me. I think the pipeline one should be further down the line. But of course, nice surprises like Bo-Katan and the Mythrol are always good, always welcome. And I think it keeps the line interesting. And it's good to get surprises. Bob Lataley says, hi Bossk, love your videos. Please keep them coming. A non-vintage collection question for you. On a video this week, you mentioned being excited for the England-Scotland Euro match. Yeah, that didn't go down too well, did it? Are you a big football fan? If so, do you have a club you support? Either a smaller club or a bigger Premier League team? Just wondering, thanks. In answer to that, yes, I'm a huge football fan. I've been going to live football matches supporting my team for a very, very long time. Up until a couple of years ago, I was a season ticket holder, but I'm not going to tell you which club that is. Some things just need to remain private. It's a bit embarrassing, basically, but yeah, no, I'm not going to say which team, but it's a small team. Let's just put it that way. Donald Allen says, hi Tim, how soon do you think we'll get a Luke Skywalker on a Mandalorian card? Seems like easy money for Hasbro, and I'd love to have it. Thanks. I think we all would love to have that figure on a Mandalorian card. It's one of those ones, isn't it? We've just had the Return of the Jedi Luke. Would it annoy people that we get another Luke Skywalker? Quite possibly. I think there's other figures from the Mandalorian that I would want before that figure, because at the end of the day, I could just use the Return of the Jedi version. But of course, yeah, Luke Skywalker from Mandalorian, who wouldn't want that? Horror Fan says, great video as always, Tim. Question for next week. Are there any retro collection Mandalorian figures besides Cara Dune that are hard to find? In my experience, no. I think the Mandalorian retro collection figures are just everywhere. Plenty of shops have them. Plenty of online places still have them. I didn't even know that Cara Dune was necessarily one of the harder ones to find. I guess because it's Cara Dune, it might be. But, you know, I can't talk for what it's like in the United States. But over here, they're just everywhere. Collector 1970 says, I have a question for Bossk Bounty. Would you like to see the deleted Sandstorm scene Luke, Han and Chewie on a vintage card back? I think it's long overdue. Yeah, that would be quite a nice one. Of course, we do have the Lando and Leia. We also do have Luke Skywalker, you know, creating his lightsaber, but that's not really the Sandstorm one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they made those in the Legacy collection, didn't they? But yeah, absolutely. If they could update those figures, give us new versions of those figures to go with those other ones, it'd be pretty awesome. I'm not really too sure if they would do that, really, but it would be nice. Joe Uriah says, hey, Boss, question for next week. Do you think we'll ever see reissues or new sculpts of the Expanded Universe figures like Darth Revan or Darth Malak? I'd like to know what you think, and which would you like to see? Thanks for all you do. Awesome content as always, Bossk. Cheers. Thank you very much, Joe. Yeah, the Revan one, we've talked about this one a few times before. Of course, they were going to release that one from the 30th anniversary, repacked into the vintage collection until the fans sort of said that that figure is not really up to scratch anymore. That has kind of put that one on the back burner. But of course, that doesn't mean that we don't want Revan. It just means we don't want that Revan. And I think I may have mentioned this before, but of course, in the Black series, we've already had Revan. And then we had the Jedi Revan, so it's a popular character. They know it's a popular character. So popular, in fact, that they've put the Darkside Revan back into the archive collection. So I can't see any reason why they wouldn't do that in the vintage collection. But the problem is it's going to be an all-new sculpt because the previous figure's not good enough. And it's just a case of where do they fit that in going forward with all of the new stuff that they've got to do that's from the new media, plus all the stuff that we want from the OT and the prequels and Clone Wars and Bad Batch. You know, they've got their hands full. So it's just about where they slot that figure in. But of course, I think he's a bit of a fan favourite. And yeah, why not? All right then, guys, that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching as per usual. If you do have a question for next week's episode, leave it in the comment section below. And hopefully we'll get round to answering your question. Drop a like down below if you enjoyed the video. And we shall see you on the next one.